Hi, folks. This is Don Meisner with the North Country Fishing Report, and I want to tell you about something that I've found this is getting a little bit technical, but I think it's important for you to realize. If you go out to buy a reel, and a lot of you probably don't think anything about this, you go into a store, you'll pick it up, you'll reel it, feels nice and smooth and so forth, and that's good. But the gear ratio, and especially of spinning reels now, because a lot of us use spinning reel, including me, the gear ratio can be so vitally important. And let me explain, I've talked about this before, but let me explain more specifically of what I'm talking about. If the gear ratio, let's say, is 5-to-1, this is pretty much standard of what you're going to get with a spinning reel. So that means every time you turn the handle one time around, the spool will be spun 5 times. It's going to wind line around that spool 5 times. If it has a 6-to-1 ratio, then every time you turn your handle, you're going to be bringing more line in. So you can essentially be reeling it faster. And a lot of the pros buy their reels based on the type of lures they're going to use and whether the lures work well at low speed or fast speed. But let me tell you what I've discovered recently and why the gear ratio becomes so important to me. If I'm fishing for smallmouth bass, for example, that will swim so fast. Once you hook them, they're going to swim right at you. And believe me, this happens over and over again. Somehow they all of a sudden know exactly where you're at. And as soon as they feel that hook prick into their mouth, they're going to come at you at full force. And full force is fast. You can barely keep up with them. And you, in a lot of cases, can't keep up with them. And recently, I've lost a lot of fish because I wasn't able to reel fast enough with my little reels to be able to keep up and keep the pressure on, and the hook comes out of the fish. Now, and that's the other thing you have to realize. The bigger the spinning reel you're using, the bigger the spool, the more line it's going to take in for every time you turn that handle, because the spool is bringing more line in. It's got a bigger diameter. However, I like to use light tackle. I don't want to use great big stuff. So it's important to have a faster gear ratio for a lot of fishing. Here's the other thing. A lot of times I'm out in a canoe, and if we're moving, if we're not just sitting in one spot fishing, like I would be if I was wading. If I'm wading, it's a whole nother ball game. But if I'm out in a canoe or a boat and we're moving along, and if I'm casting down from the force of our movement. In other words, I'm casting downstream, essentially. We're moving towards the lure. At the same time I'm trying to reel, I'm going to have a lot less impact of being able to bring it in. So the faster the gear ratio is, the more I'm going to be able to keep that lure moving properly and having the action it was designed to have. Now, I don't know if I'm explaining this well, but I have this happen an awful lot. If I'm fishing with my buddy Rust and we're in the canoe and he's moving at a certain pace and I'm casting in the direction that we're moving, I have to reel so fast just to keep the lure moving properly. And so I wanted to pass this on to you. The gear ratio is critical in the type of fish you're going after, the size of the gear that you're using, and the direction that you're fishing can make a huge difference in the best gear ratio that would be for you for that particular day. Until next time, folks, this is Don Meisner with the North Country Fishing Report.